Hello, hello, and welcome back to Space Engineers on the Xbox, on the Series X. And if you're watching this, then my scheduling has worked. I recorded this earlier on. And yeah, welcome. We're still waiting for the hotfix for Signal. So if you're trying to join the servers on the Xbox and you get a message that says you can't, that's the problem. We don't have the update yet. Hopefully soon. Anyway, why are we here? We're here to talk Signal again. Yeah, and that's going to be what we're going to be talking about because I've been playing with it and I've found something pretty cool that we can do with it. And so I'm going to show you without messing about. We're going to start building straight away. I'm going to slap down some blocks. So I'm in creative on Pertum. We're just going to grab a block or two and just drag out a little area here, and we're going to pop in our battery to start with, and we need something to control our grid with, so we're going to throw in a cockpit, and you'll see that it's not orientated the correct way. So to get it the right way, we need to change its axis of rotation. So if we just tap down on the D-pad, you'll see you go from red to green to blue. I've said this before. While it's in blue, we can rotate it like this, and on the horizontal like this when it's in red, and around this axis when it's in green. There's our cockpit. And we're going to drag some few blocks just down here like this, and then a couple of blocks up, and then we're making a little shape of a T, and we're getting there slowly but surely on what I wanted to talk about. So let's start this really basic. Let's have a look at a rotor. We're going to take a look at a rotor, and we're going to pop one down, and you'll find them in advanced systems, a lot of the cool stuff. Just a regular rotor will do, and we're going to look at the rotor. We're going to make sure it's 0 is facing us, just rotate it into place like so, and then we're going to look at it, and there's the 0. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pop down a light armor block on it so we can see which way it rotates. I'm just going to jump into the cockpit. We're going to change our view by holding the right bumper down, tapping up on the D-pad. And from this point, you can't do much unless you hold both bumpers down. If you hold both bumpers down, you can now rotate the camera with the right stick, up and down, left and right, and zoom in and out on the left stick to get the kind of view you want. And what you want to try and do is you want to try and get a view of the block, because what we want is we want to look at our control panel, but we still want to kind of see the block. And if we start the rotor off, that block will start to rotate. What we want to do here though is we want to work out two angles of rotation. We have an upper limit and a lower limit at the moment, and both of these are set here with the velocity at 0 at unlimited. So if we just change one to, let's just change it to 0. Like so. And say an upper limit of 90. And then we just apply -5 to this rotor. And how I'm doing that is holding the right bumper down and tapping left on the D-pad. There is a bug with Space Engineers that means you can't enter minus values into the settings when you press A and press A again. You could normally type minus, but you can't. So just use the right bumper, tap left on the D-pad until you get to the minus. And then if we reverse, you'll see that our block shifts. So that's what we want. 0 and 90 on that side. And before we do anything else, we're just going to jump out and we're going to do the same on the right hand side. And a lot of you veterans will be like, why is he doing it like this? Why is he showing people like this? Well, the answer is everybody has to start somewhere, and I tend to approach Space Engineers from the point of view that if you're watching this, you've either played it for a lot and you just wanted to see what I was up to, or you've not played it really, and this is why you're here on the channel looking for some advice on how to play and how to set these systems up. And it's all well and good knowing what you're doing, but if you don't know what you're doing, I'm hoping this is a good example of simple setup. No mess, no fuss, just get in, do it. So 0 on this one is facing us again, and we want to go to rotor 2, and we want to come down on this one again. We go, I think this is right. We're just going to test it though. Just type in this, and this time we're going to give it a bit of a velocity change. And what you'll watch is this is a way to test what setting you need on your other side of the rotor if you can't remember. So that block is going the wrong way. We're using the grey venting on that side. So what we need to do then is change our upper limit, I think it is, and if we hold both bumpers and tap left, you'll see you've got minus 360. There we go. Sometimes Space Engineers loses connection to the controller. It's a bit weird, but we can live with it. Gone a bit too far. And that should do it. You'll notice it sets it to 0. So we go on the lower limit. And you'll see that as we move it, that's the correct angle that we want to change. Till we get close to minus 90. And you can swap to the left bumper and tap the D-pad, and that will increment it slower so you can get minus 90 exactly. And when we reverse that rotor, we've now got both rotors facing that way. So now if we go into our control panel and we press A on the first rotor, hold down the right bumper, tap A again, move the left stick across to block group and type V T R O T O R S, doing all this on controller. And this is what I do. We've now got a group. Once we click save, what we're going to do with that is we're going to pop that down on the D-pad. So while staying in the cockpit, hold down on the D-pad, tap the right bumper until you reach groups, and you'll see VT rotors is lit up. Choose reverse. Then look on our rotor settings again, and you'll see that rotor 1 has a velocity of -5. Rotor 2 has a velocity of 5. So that's the important part here. Make sure that your second rotor is set to the positive velocity and your other rotor is set to the minus. And when you do that, both blocks will now tilt down. What is all this in aid of, though? Well, now we've got these blocks, we can jump out of the cockpit and we can do something with them. So delete your blocks, because they are just placeholders for the real deal. Moving across on our build radial until we get, push up on the D-pad and rotate until these are facing away from you, like this, or rather the thrusters are facing like this. Now when we come into here, kind of looks like an Osprey, doesn't it? Now, normally, Space Engineers doesn't allow us to control anything on a subgrid unless we're on PC and we're using scripts like the subgrid controller. We can't use scripts on single player, and we can't use scripts on hosted multiplayer. We can only use a script on a dedicated server. And as I've said before, dedicated servers are either rented from Nitrado or GTX or one of the others, and they cost per month or whatever payment plan you're on. Or if you've got a PC that can run the dedicated Space Engineers server, you can look online and find out how to do that. I don't support that kind of thing. I don't do servers at all. But that's one way. And on there you can actually use scripts. But the caveat is that they must be what's called server-side, not client-side. So server-side scripts run their code through the server. Client-side compiles and runs the code on the Xbox. Microsoft will not allow this, and most console manufacturers wouldn't allow it because it could be used to breach into the OS of the console. That aside, what can we do then? Well, we can play around with something cool. Now, bear in mind, this system will require you to set a channel for each ship that uses it. If you've got 3 or 4, then you're going to be using quite a few channels on Signal, but that's okay. It can support up to 100 channels. Yeah. Anyway, what next? Well, we've got 2 thrusters, so let's just deal with those first. Let's set them up as a group. So let's pick these 2 thrusters. You should know how to do that by now, because I've just told you on how to group the rotors. Block group them, and we're going to call them VT thrust. Let's save that group off, and then do nothing with it, because what we want to do is ideally play around with how to send a signal to thrusters on a subgrid, because that's what we want to use signal for. Because otherwise you can use thrust override, but I like to mess around with things like signal to show you how to do stuff. The other method is to use the merge block method, which I can link that video in the description, which I will do. That is a fun method. It does require the use of subgrids to trick the game into thinking that your grid is one whole grid, because merging is a pain. It usually requires a kind of distance of another subgrid for it to work. But this is how we can use signal to control thrusters on a subgrid rather than anything else. So we need an antenna. We'll use the compact antenna. And we're going to need 2 relays, 1 per thruster. And we find them again in advanced systems. We're just going to pop them on top of our thrusters here, like so. And one of these will be with thrust override increase, so we'll go for the action relay, and we'll just call it ink, and we'll have that on channel 1. We'll accept signal from the owner, and we'll set up the actions on it right now. And we want this to come down to groups. We want to pick VT thrust, and we just want increased thrust override, like so. Then we want our second action relay. We want to set that to channel 2. We want this to be owner, and we want this group to decrease thrust override. And then before doing anything, we'll just rename this action relay deck, like so. All good. And we need our sending relay for this particular trick. So select our action relay from the blocks, like so, and make sure that's fine. We're just going to call this action relay VT. That's our VT controller, but we don't do anything with it from here. We go into the cockpit, push left on the D-pad, choose it from our list here, and you'll see that it's there, which is why we rename everything. And we tell it to set channel 1 and send the signal. And we'll just keep it at send 1. And then we go right on the D-pad, choose our action relay, set channel 2, and confirm it. And then you'll see that we can control the VTOL from here, like so. So that's how you can control thrusters on a subgrid using Action Relay. So you could make quite a complex thrust system on your ship that may be separated by several subgrids, or even a detachable kind of thing, and using the relay you can actually send a signal to it on a subgrid. It's just a little bit of fun, and another demonstration of the sort of thing that you can do with the signal relay system. And I like to mess about and do things like that because it's quite fun. If I brought in my demonstration model, say here's one I prepared earlier. This little fun vehicle. And what I really like about it is that you can get quite a decent control of the hover by very carefully tapping the D-pad without having to hold down the A button or use any other controls. You can hover quite nicely, change the height, and then all you need to do is just bring it down with B till it gets close to the ground. And you can see I can rotate the thrusters. And this used to be my model that I used for the merge blocks. You'll see there and there the merge block version. It should be somewhere around. What's my axis of rotation on this? There we go. There's my merge block version. And you'll see with the merge block version, once the merge block is locked in, the actual thrusters themselves fire. So they work. And then we can unlock the merge block, rotate the thruster, relock the merge block, and then the thrusters will fire again in that position. So you're moving more controls, and there's more chance for clang. But yeah, there you go. That's the sort of idea behind it. That's the working prototype, and so on. It's more for use when you've got sort of thrusters and things that are further out than the grid will allow. There's lots of things you can do with Signal. If you remember, I did a remote return for a flyer before Signal came out using a trick with the beacons. You don't need to do that now. You can remotely control a grid with Signal. So you could just send a signal to your flyer to return and trigger the autopilot to just turn on and bring it back. No need to mess about with that particular system any longer. So Signal makes things like that a lot easier. From remotely controlling drills to turn on and off, to little things like this system here, where I've got an oxygen farm which can be damaged by this gun over here, and using the broadcast block and event controllers, I can detect when this is below 30% health, have this welder come on, weld it up, fix it, and it will even send a little signal, a little message to say that it's been damaged and to say that it's been repaired. And I can control the shooting of the gun by using the shoot once command from over here using the action relay system. And I'll go into that in another video, because this one has gone on now for about 25 minutes, and I just wanted really to show you a little fun trick you could do with Signal, and also show you how to set up a basic VTOL rotor system so that you can play around and just have fun with the game. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching. When you watch this, it should be out sometime on the Monday. Until then, though, stay safe, take care, have fun, enjoy the game, and I'm going to catch you in the next one, and hopefully we'll have the hotfix soon. I pretty much recorded this not long after the hotfix was announced. It came out on PC, it came out on PlayStation, but Xbox can be a bit slow considering. Anyway, thank you, and I will definitely see you on the flip side. Bye for now.